With this workflow, you will never again have to send your weekly email newsletter because it will do it for you. Not only does it do research every day on what is relevant information in the news or on Reddit related to your topic, but each week on your assigned day, it'll go through all of those different links and articles that it found during the week, pick the top 5 that are most important for your readers to learn about, and then it summarizes them all, writes the email, and sends it out all on your behalf. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what this guy does for us. Let's come over to my email, and here we go. I'll make it so you guys can see the whole thing. And so we have, the Automate Business AI Weekly Roundup. Here's today's date, the 14th. That's right. And we've got, this week in AI platform dynamics. Got a nice little introduction to our little weekly email blast here. ChatGPT 5 rollout backlash. There's been lots of that this week. Musk threatens Apple Store lawsuit. Yep, he did that. Anthropic Claude offer. Yep, that happened. So yeah, it's got all these kind of like high level things that happened in AI, which is essentially what I had it set to do. Obviously, you can have it write more if you want. You can go in more in detail. It's got the links to the articles here. So if I come over here and we click that, we've got it straight to the link. It's absolutely beautiful that it's able to make this nice, weekly email roundup that you now don't even have to consider. Like you just turn this workflow on and it's going to be able to send this out to your list every single week. All right, and so let's go ahead and actually dive into it and show you how it works. It actually comes in 2 parts. So we have the part that collects the articles throughout the week, and then we have the part that actually writes the email blast each week. So we'll go through it each part one by one. We have a schedule trigger. Schedule trigger is just set to check every day at midnight. All right, we then have it go to a spreadsheet. So make sure you set up your Google Sheets credentials. I'll have a link in the description below on how to set up Google Cloud Console to be able to do that. You're going to have a document. I will go ahead and give you this document that you can use. It's called Weekly Newsletter Email. And let's come over here, search terms. We have this tab here where we just have the search terms that we want it to go through each day, looking for news on those subjects. All right, and so, weekly newsletter email, sheet is search terms. It's going to pull those. It's then going to loop through each of the terms. Okay, and then we're going to go, and first thing we do is we have a set or an edit fields node. We're going to set the keyword here just so we don't have to try to pull outside of the loop. It's always right at the front of the loop. We then send it down 2 paths. The first path is going to check Reddit, and you'll want to set whatever Reddit subreddit you would have it check for. Make sure you have your Reddit credentials set up. I'll have a link in the description below on how to set up Reddit credentials as well. Either way, our resource is post, operation is search, location is subreddit, and the subreddit, I have it set to technology. You can have it set to whatever, but we put the keyword in quotes, and then we're going to have it return 20 of the hottest articles on it. All right, you can play around with these settings if you want. I found that hot works the best. And then runs through this code here. This code, in essence, what it does is it takes all of the information that you're going to get for Reddit, and it's only going to give you the most important pieces that you need. You need the title, and you need the article, and that's more or less it. It's just going to pull out anything that seemed like it was relevant. If there was nothing related to that keyword, it's just going to return no Reddit results for this keyword. All right, all of that then gets passed through this if node. If there is something for it to deal with, it will deal with it. If not, then it will skip. So here it says is equal to no Reddit results, in which case it's going to skip right over to the merge. If there are results, it's going to go append it into our Google Sheet. So operation is append. Our document is the weekly newsletter email. Our sheet is search results. And then we have our date, which is set to today's date that we're going to put in. We're going to put in the URL from Reddit, and we're going to mark the source as Reddit. So if I come over here to our sheet, we have search results, and we here have date, URL, and source. We'll see we did find one Reddit on the 12th. Looks like we didn't find any today when I ran it just now. So didn't look like anything on Reddit worth pulling on those keywords today, which is interesting out of technology. That I would imagine they would have been there, but maybe not. So either way, if it finds something, it's going to put it into the spreadsheet. And then it also goes down to this other path here. We have an AI agent, which is hooked up to a Google search tool. Now, I will put a link in the description below on how to set up free Google searches. You can get 100 free Google searches a day with your workflows. All right, so we just have an AI agent. It's getting the keyword. It doesn't have any execution data because I didn't run it in this path here. So don't worry about that. It does work. Don't worry about the red. We have a system prompt. System prompt is it's taking a single keyword input. It's going to build a query, latest news on that input or recent news on that input. It's going to call the tool. It's going to get out any articles that it can find, and then it's going to pass those forward to be able to put into the spreadsheet as well. So come over to the tool. This tool, you make sure you set up your Google search credentials. You'll need your Google Search Console or your custom search engine CXID number. Make sure you put that in there. Your query, that'll be determined by the model. And then we have it set to news. So the TBM field is going to be set to NWS, which is news. We're going to date restrict this to the past day. So we're only getting the most recent news articles on whatever subject we're looking for. All right, we're then going to have it come through this. If it does not find anything that's worth talking about, it's going to pass through the no major news coverage. If it does find something, it's going to then put it through a code node. It was just like the one before, where it's going to try to identify the URL. It's going to get that information, and it's going to pass it into the spreadsheet. All right, so we get all that information and put it into the spreadsheet. And that goes in here just like this. We put in our date, we put in our URL for the search result, and then our source is search. So we're not actually searching and making a determination of whether this article is worthwhile yet. We're just getting the information from the day. We're going to put it all into a spreadsheet, and then we're going to deal with it on the day that the newsletter is supposed to go out with the other workflow. We're just gathering information throughout the week. We're not necessarily processing it. All right, all of that information gets merged, both Reddit and search, merged together, aggregated, and then all of that information is put into, we update the sheet one more time. This time we put a last search date next to the search term that we had. So we come back over here, search terms. We just make a little note here that the last time this was searched was on this date. So if you come in here and it's a couple days ago, you'll know your bot's broken. All right. So it runs through that over and over and over again, and it just does that each day, once a day, and then that's it. It's just going to be gathering the information to be able to then use the rest of the workflow to process it. So if we come down here, so this is where we're actually going to be making our weekly newsletter. So we have another schedule trigger. This one is set to every week, Monday, 7 a.m. Seems like a good time to be able to send a newsletter. You can change it if you want. But what we do is we go into Google Sheets. We're going to our search results sheet over here, this one where we're going to have all of our daily articles that come in. We're going to get all of them. We're then going to run it through a filter, and this filter is going to be checking for whether the date in this column over here, date, is within the last 7 days, because we're looking for the last week, and I didn't really want to build in a feature that erases the articles from more than a week ago. Might as well just let it keep going. It's going to pull articles every single day. And we just need the stuff that's in the past week. So that's why I have this filter. It's got some an expression here for today's date and yesterday's date. So 1 day minus today minus 1 day would be yesterday, and so on for the past 6 days before it, which makes it a week. All right. We then take all of the articles from the past week. We run them through this loop process right here. This loop process, again, what we do is we're going to lock in the URL right at the start. That way we're able to process it properly. We're then going to use this HTTP node with a method of get. We put in our URL. We don't need any extra authorizations or authentications. That's it. It's going to grab everything on that web page. It's going to pass it forward. We're going to pass it through this code node here. And this code node is kind of beefy. I had ChatGPT help me write it. Basically what it does is it strips out all of the extra HTML code, all the extra headers and footers and stuff that's not relevant to the body of the article. We only want the website text, because that's what we want to feed to the AI. We don't want to feed all the extra stuff. That's tokens we don't need to spend. So we're just grabbing the information that is relevant on that website. We then pass it through this email triage agent or article triage agent. I'm using a GPT-5 Nano here just because it's nice and fast, it's nice and smart. And what we're determining is whether this article is newsletter worthy. Does this meet the requirements that we've set in order to be a possibility in our newsletter? We don't really need everything, right? We need stuff that's relevant and topical for our audience. And so we just run it through this. Don't fabricate details, don't make any decisions. But basically, it's just making a determination of whether this is newsworthy, yes or no. And if yes, It's going to make a short statement, like 6 words headline, of what the topic is about, and then about a 2 to 3 word summary of what the entire web page, the article is about. That's it. We're just kind of getting the top level information, a nice little digest version of these articles. We're going to have it run it through them. You probably get like 10, 20 articles a day. We're going to run through at least 100 of these when you're going to do your weekly newsletter. Be aware of that. It might be a little pricey for you. Using the models that we're using, probably not too expensive, but just be aware of that. It will take a little bit of time. When I just ran this, I tried it with a set of 45 articles, and I set it with a set of 23 articles. And the 45 articles took about 20 minutes. The 23 articles took about 12 minutes. So just be aware that there is going to be an amount of time that this is going to run, but it's mostly just going to be here in this loop. This is it's just going to go through it. It's going to pull out the article. It's going to run it through the AI. Like I said, we're using 5 nano, and it's so inexpensive. It shouldn't cost you much of anything to run this. And this is all it's determining is whether this is newsletter worthy. If it is, it's going to append it to our spreadsheet. In this case, we're putting it into our first pass articles for newsletter tab down here. So here's all of the articles that it found that it thought was newsworthy or newsletter worthy from what I gave it. It gave me a topic. So Claude Sonnet 4, long context update. And here's a 2-sentence description of it. Or we have Gemini AI debugging loop issues. And then Gemini AI displayed long self-criticizing debugging logs while attempting to fix code. All right, so it gives us that kind of high-level information that then comes out of the loop. We're going to limit it to 1 item because it doesn't matter if it's 45 or 7 or however many. We only need 1 item to pass forward to keep working. We're going to then go and read our sheet again, our articles for newsletter. Let's come back over here. In this case, actually, it should be the first pass articles for newsletter. I changed the name recently, so that's what it is. We're going to filter out anything that is not from today's date because, again, although this is all for today's date, maybe you have stuff from last week in there. We only need the stuff from today that it just put in. So it's going to grab just the ones from today. It's going to aggregate all of that together, just all items in a single batch. Then we're going to send it to another AI agent. The AI agent, we've just stringified everything. We're just giving all of the information as one big text blocks to the model. And then we say what your job is to identify the 5 top most important ones that would be good for my audience, for my newsletter. All right, and so it's going to look through all of the articles. It's going to find which ones are the top 5. So most high value equals higher rank. All right, we give it a chain of process. We give it all the inputs as examples, and then we tell it what the output should be. I guess this is all output. So it's going to give us the URL, the topic, and the content for the top 5. All right, those 5 then get split out because we use a structured output parser here. We make sure it makes it do 5 outputs. Split those out. Each of those gets appended into our spreadsheet one more time, into the final articles for newsletter sheet. So here you see we have 5. We have the URL, we have the topic, we have the content, as well as, don't worry about this one, that gets done in the next step. So then all of that information gets put there, URL, topic, content. We then pass it forward again, a limit of 1. Since we had 5 items, we only need 1 to move forward. We then come over here. We're going to read our sheet one more time. So we just put the information in. Now we're pulling it back out and checking it again from that final articles for newsletter. We filter it out to make sure that everything is from today because, again, there might be stuff from last week in there. We only want the 5 from today. We then have an email agent write a synopsis for our newsletter based on the topic and the content. All right, so we input each of those items, the URL, the topic, the content. We have a system prompt here, which tells it that it needs to output this in HTML format. It needs to do a brief write-up of it, and it needs to make sure that it includes a link for each article at the bottom using an Ahref reference so that it becomes a clickable link. All right, we tell it to write for an interested practitioner, assume readers care about the topic, keep it actionable and concise. We give it a chain of thought. We give it these rules, don't fabricate anything, only use the information that it's given. No altering any factual meaning, keep everything nice and tight and short. No emojis, no extra fields, only HTML, make sure there's headings and all that fun stuff. We give it some examples here, and then we have ensure that it does the HTML output. And then it does that 5 times. Each of those gets added to our spreadsheet one more time. It's gonna be put into the write-up section. puts it all over here. So each of those is there. And then what we do is we limit it one more time because we had 5 items. We only need 1. We're going to read that spreadsheet one more time, get everything out in one batch. And then we're going to filter it for today, just again, because we don't need anything from last week or the weeks before. We're going to run it through this code node. This code node is going to take each of those 5 items. It's going to combine them into one item that is joined together with line breaks. All right, so everything is in HTML. We have 5 little HTML segments over here in our spreadsheet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they look like HTML. What we do is we just kind of stack each of the HTML together as a single item moving forward, and then we pass it to this AI agent. This AI agent is given the newsletter body and then told that its job is to create the introduction for this newsletter. And so you want to come in here and obviously set it for your brand and what you want it to say, but it goes through and it writes the introduction. It's going to write it in HTML. It needs to sound busy, focused, and credible. Write an editorial we voice, lead with the why, give it the chain of thought, some rules. It needs to, HTML and all that. No spam, no emojis, no exclamation point spam, no markdown, anything like that. Give it some examples, and then it passes that forward by then calling our Google Sheets one more time, pulling out our newsletter contact list. And so at this point, we have the entire body for the content or for the newsletter. We have the introduction for the letter. Now it's time to send it. Now, before I go further, this is so important for you to understand. I would not actually do it this way, this next part. I would not set up an email list this way because there's just too many issues with it. I personally would use something like an SMTP, like SendGrid. I would use SendGrid, which is my SMTP. And so I would use it to get a list in order to get my contact list. I'd pick my list, and then I would use it again, SendGrid, in order to then send an email. And I would then have it send those emails to my list based on the people in the list. And I would not do it with Gmail, but to each their own. I wanted to just put something together simple here just to kind of show you how it could work for you. What we do is I have my list in my spreadsheet. My contact list is here. All right. I have emails, contact name, and I have a column for unsubscribe. You have to have a column for unsubscribe or you can get in a lot of trouble. All right. Now, I'm not an attorney, all of that, but make sure you have an unsubscribe column and some process that if somebody emails you back and says, I want to unsubscribe or something like that, that it automatically updates them as a yes in here. All right. Just make sure you do that. Assuming this is the process you're going to go forward with, it's going to use this Google Sheet. It's going to pull our contact list from our spreadsheet. It's going to filter out anybody who has unsubscribe set to yes. All right, so if you have set to yes, it's going to kick you out. If it doesn't have anything, it's going to pass you forward. We then have our Gmail node. Again, I would not use Gmail just because it's not meant for this, but we give it the email addresses are 2. We have a subject, which is the Automate Business AI Weekly Roundup with today's date. And then we give it email type of HTML with our introduction and then with our body. And those are both being pulled from these nodes back over here. And then what it does is it'll send it. So in this case, it sent it to 2 of my 3 email addresses that I have in here. Where is that? So I have 3 email addresses. I had one set to unsubscribe, which was yes. And so it ended up sending it to both of my email addresses that were not set to unsubscribe. So that is the weekly email newsletter writer. I think it is really cool. Make sure you follow all applicable laws and rules related to email spam just because you don't want to get in trouble. If this is an actual legitimate newsletter, you can probably get away with it. I just would not use a Gmail. Definitely use some sort of SMTP. Make sure you're following all protocols and all of that. And if you want a copy of today's workflow, all you got to do is click the link in the description down below. You can download it right there in our free school community, as well as a ton of other free workflows, a ton of tutorials to help you get up and running to be able to use n8n and these tools for yourself. And if you want to go even further in your training and your studies, then I suggest that you join the Advanced community. Not only do we have a ton of advanced workflows and advanced versions of the workflows that I put out in the free group, we also have my Roger 3.0 Executive Assistant, which is just absolutely the coolest thing in the world, and I'm making it better all of the time because it's my personal assistant, and I'm giving it to you guys. But also, you get access to me, where I hold your hand and show you exactly how to use these tools. We have 5 weekly calls where I'm going to be able to show you step by step how to be able to troubleshoot your workflows, to be able to build new things, as well as a ton of training courses and classes that are not available in our free community. And if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like and share the video. It really does help get that information out there to those who need it. And as always, I'm Bradford Carlton. Let's automate your success together.